Let's get back to this now and get more perspective on the return to full-time classes tomorrow. We're joined by Somila Mjekula, who is the Communication Advocacy Officer at the Learning Trust, following that briefing by the Basic Education Minister this morning. Thank you very much, Somila, for joining us this afternoon. Perhaps let's start with the work that you do as the Learning Trust and some of the things or situations that you experience where education is concerned on the ground.
Yes, so I as you said, greetings, by the way, Dudu and your listeners and your viewers. I work for the Learning Trust, and we are a conduit funder. We support after-school programs that work in quintile 1 to 3 schools. And after-school programs are usually the programs that run after school time or after class time and support learners, giving different remedial or extra support to learners. What has concerned us about the rotational timetabling is the fact that the learners who are attending quintile 1, 2, 3 schools, which are the less advantaged schools, have not been supported during this time, and there have been high levels of dropout for learners who are attending these schools. We're very happy that the minister has announced that learners can come back to school full time. But what concerns us is that there are no clear recovery plans in place to say what are we going to do now that we know, with the knowledge that the loss of learning in the past 2 years that has come out of COVID is so extreme. What is the department planning to do to recover those learning losses post rotational timetabling?
From the work that you do, what has been the consequence of that loss in learning time?
Yes, so the programs that we support and fund are programs that work with learners after school time. And because these programs or these organizations work with schools in order to run these programs after school, this rotational timetabling has meant even less time or less contact time for these tutors and facilitators and coaches to work with these learners. But the great thing about these programs is that they're not contained by the 8 to 2 structure of like formal structural education that the teachers are constrained to. So they give more time and more attention to learners. And what they've picked up is that the level of progress for learners in these past 2 years has declined extremely, because the kind of attention that a learner should be getting in class in a 5-day work week has been reduced. And because the teachers are trying to catch up with curriculum, the learners get left behind. And so you get these programs. So these programs are homework support programs, academic support. Some of them are sports and recreation, arts and culture. And they kind of provide remedial, extra attention, extra support, mentorship programs to these learners. And they found that these learners are struggling to catch up to the curriculum and even catch up to the grade that they're in. So the teachers aren't teaching at the level that the learner understands, and thus by the time that a learner gets to grade 4, they're still functioning at the level of a learner in grade 2 because of the disjuncture in how the learning has happened.
The minister touched on what she called pre-COVID conditions, infrastructure challenges being one of them, overcrowding. You talk about teachers who are not necessarily capacitated to capacitate learners. These quintile 1 to 3 schools, where infrastructure is concerned, what are we seeing?
Yes, so the funny thing is that the challenges have been aggravated post-COVID, but we know there were big challenges even before COVID. So as you said, the infrastructural challenges and not enough teachers. Like a teacher would be in a classroom with over 40 learners, and we know learning, that's not a conducive environment for learning. So very difficult environments to work in. So when we're talking about these challenges before COVID, and we know now they've been exacerbated post the pandemic, coming from the lens of our sector, the after-school sector, we understand that the demands on the syllabus, on the curriculum, and on teachers' time is very high. So we're not saying that the department is alone in this. It stands alone in making sure that educational outcomes are reached. But we're saying there's a whole community of civil society organizations that have programs dedicated to assisting learners outside of those constraints and confines and infrastructural issues. So it is clear that the system, or the formal system, needs support to address these